You know what? As soon as we step up and say something or post something, we're going to get some negative comments. How do we handle negative comments? It's kind of fun that I've been asked to do a video about how to respond to negative comments on YouTube. Because you know what? They come up. In fact, you might feel to leave some kind of a comment here on this video. And that's fine. I invite that. I welcome it. I love the conversation. And every once in a while, we get a comment that is so negative. And it's funny, it's almost laughable because they can be the exact polar opposite of some of the glowing comments. So on one video that I did, I remember I got a comment that said, "Oh, Dr. Paul, thank you. This is so awesome." And then a little bit farther down the string, we get another comment that says, "This channel is poison." Okay, everybody's got an opinion, right? And let's start with that. Everybody has an opinion. They're kind of like armpits. I've heard it said this way before. Everybody's got one and they all stink. Well, opinions are just that. They're opinions. Let's not confuse facts and opinions. You know, on the animated show Inside Out, which is really a compelling look in a fun animated way at the inner workings of the human mind. There's this one part where they're riding along on the train of thoughts. If you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And the boxes get jostled a little bit and they fall down and all of the contents spill out on the floor. Well, these are boxes of facts and opinions. And the little characters get a little nervous about, oh no, how are we going to get them all back in the right place? Somebody comments, it doesn't worry, they all look the same anyway. Facts and opinions get jumbled up all the time in our mind. So keeping that in mind, any negative comment is simply someone's opinion. Don't confuse it with fact, because if you get all uptight about what's right or what the facts are, then you're probably going to respond to that differently than if you just take it lightly and realize that it's somebody's opinion. Now, I'm going to wrap this into some comments about relationships and how we can handle those in relationships and communication. So stay tuned for just a minute, but I had to share this with you. And I shared this in another video recently also when we were talking about criticism, about how Wayne Dyer, who I really admired as a speaker and a philosopher, and just enjoyed his train of thought. And he shared that he would often get very negative comments. And this was in a day when a lot of times people would send him letters, right? Saying, oh, I think you're full of it or whatever. He created a form response that he just always used. He had them all copied off. And the form response basically said this: I am sitting here in the smallest room of my home. Right, that's the one. And I have your letter before me. It will soon be behind me. Sincerely, Wayne. Now, I love that because it gives us the permission to just flush the darn thing, to put it behind you, to not get tipped over by it. And that's probably the number one thing that I would suggest when negative comments occur. Don't get tipped over by it. Just put it behind you, as Wayne Dyer exemplified there. Now, let's take this to another level, because that's easy on social media and on YouTube. Sometimes it'll sting a little bit. It's easy to just delete it, hide it from your page, remove it from your string, whatever you want to do. I tend to leave the negative comments there because what I'm finding is that my fans will go in and do the battle for me. And they'll be like, oh, I think it's, and they'll share their opinion. Anyway, it just creates more traction. And bad breath is better than no breath at all. But in a relationship, let's say that this is someone who's really close to you or important to you. Maybe it's a work colleague, maybe it's a boss, maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's your child. And there's a negative comment. I sometimes call these zingers. A comment that's kind of intended to zing you a little bit. They're taking a shot at you. In fact, I had Pamela Jett on my show. I'll put a link down there in the description. The title of that show was How to Handle a Sniper. This was on my podcast, so it's one that you can listen to. How to handle a sniper. We're not talking about the guy who's hiding out on the roof and taking pot shots at people. We're talking about those people who take pot shots at you in their communication, in their words, in their comments. How do you handle a negative comment? And I love the way Pamela handled this. She basically gave us a 3-part process for dealing with those negative comments or the snipers, the pot shots that happen in a communication. I've summarized that as being these 3 steps. Identify, verify, and accept. Identify, verify, and accept. Let's look at each one of those individually. And this is what Pamela teaches in her communications trainings. Identify has to do with very clearly and succinctly describing what happened. And it usually happens in this format. When this happened, whatever this is, okay, I felt whatever you felt. So, when you said that I'm an idiot, I felt offended. Now that's a very obvious example. It might be more subtle, like when people use sarcasm to get those cutting remarks in or to take the pot shots at you. When you said whatever the sarcastic remark was, I felt disrespected. Okay, so when this happened, I felt that. That's the format. That's step 1, identify. Step 2, verify. This one is simple. You simply ask this question. Is that what you had in mind? Or it might take a little different form. Is that what you intended? Is that what you were going for? All right, now this is brilliant. And I've told Pamela this several times. Brilliant! Because what it does is it puts them on notice that their little negative comments are having an impact on you. They may or may not have intended it. But when you identify by clearly stating what happened, and then you verify by asking, is that what you were after? Is that what you were going for? Now the ball's back in their court. Now 90% of the time, people are going to backtrack right about now. Okay, they're going to backpedal. They're going to be like, oh, no, that's not what I meant. Okay, awesome. Or what if they own it? Yeah, that's what I was going for. Now, nobody's going to say that, but what if they did? Just check in with that. Either way, you're in a better position because you're going to go to the step 3 now. Step 3 is to accept. Simply say, okay. That's it. We're not taking this conversation any farther right now. You simply accept it by saying, okay. Your tone of voice might change a little bit depending on how they answer, right? Oh, no, that's not what I meant. Okay. Yeah, that's what I meant. Okay. See, it might be a little different that way. But either way, all you're going to do is accept it. You simply say, okay. This is so powerful. What you're doing is setting a limit. You're calling them out. Now, you're not doing it in a harsh or critical way, or even accusing. You're simply identifying what happened. You're verifying whether that was their intention or not. And then you're accepting their answer, no matter what it is. You know what? I had one of my clients who was having a little struggle with her adult son, who was being very disrespectful toward her, saying things that were just hurtful and caustic, negative comments, okay? And I taught her this process. She went home and tried it with her son. It didn't seem to work in the moment because what happened was she identified, hey, when you say this, I feel that. Is that what you were after? He's like, oh, Mom, you get so uptight about these things. No, you're just being oversensitive. She took it in stride. She went to step 3. Okay. See, normally he was expecting a fight from her. Guess what? It didn't happen again. Even though in the moment he's not responding in a really favorable way, it didn't happen again. She put him on notice. She's like, hey, I get to be treated with respect around here. Is basically what she was saying. But she did it in a very strategic way. Identify, verify, and accept. Thank you, Pamela Jett, for that brilliance. I'll put a little link down below so that you can connect to her and what she's doing. This is how we handle the negative comments. You know what? If you want to leave some negative comments down there, I know how to handle them. But if you got some positive ones, I'd love to see those too. I just love that we get to spend this time together on a daily basis. I'll be back tomorrow. I hope you are too.